Hello, and what's this? Upload twice in a day automatically? What? No way, this has to be glitching. Yeah, no, it's not glitching. Since I've been gone for like 5 years, well, actually, in real lifetime, one week or so, which in YouTube time has been a decade, I decided to just, upload both parts of the, I'm saying, too much. Yeah, I decided to upload both what ifs today, so yeah. This is What If Naruto was a rogue puppet master. If you heard that notification, I apologize. Anyway, like I was saying, this is What If Naruto was a rogue puppet master, part 3, I believe. And I'm going to just get right on into it. Chapter 4, Unlikely Allies. In case you need some clarification, Team 7 just got back from the Land of Waves. Anyway, yeah, Let's go on. Chapter 4, Unlikely Allies. Kakashi signs them up for Kakashi signs them up for the exams without even asking because of Naruto's skills, Sasuke and Sakura's eagerness to catch up to him. Naruto is still testing out his new bloody mist puppets when all of a sudden he feels a humongous power surge watching him. I'm gonna take a break from the story a second. If you hear any background noise, I apologize for that. It's either my mic acting weird, my cousin doing some weird things, as you could probably hear just now, or just something I can't control. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back into it. Naruto is still testing out his new bloody mist puppets when all of a sudden he feels a humongous power source watching him. He tries to act normal and continue testing out his puppets, but the more he progresses, the more he feels the source getting closer. He then decides to go inside a store and bring out all his puppets, even the nameless ones. But the presence that now takes the form of a shadow reassures that it's not there to harm him. In fact, it has taken an interest in him. And Naruto, seeing the presence step out of the shadows, realizes that this was one of the 3 legendary Sannin of Orochimaru, the Snake Sage. In this story, all of the Sannin have Sage Mode, Jiraiya has Third Sage Mode, Orochimaru has Snake Sage Mode, and since I don't feel like creating a whole new collection of Sage due to, Tsunade has Hashirama's Sage Mode. Naruto asked why someone as known and powerful as him would want his help. He also asked why he's in the village. Orochimaru then informs Naruto about the Konoha quest plan, and asks him to join it. Naruto says yes, but he has conditions. 1, he wants to see the strongest members in Orochimaru's regiment in action. 2, he also wants to know all the abilities and limits of the one-tailed Jinchuriki Gaara, as well as anyone accompanying him. Orochimaru agrees because he knows that Naruto could be a problem if he decides to side with the Leaf. Orochimaru takes Naruto to see the Sound 5, Jugo, Sugetsu, and Karin in a fighting match. Naruto meets Kabuto and learns all of his capabilities. Naruto has a clone with the exact same chakra flow which could fool anyone with a Byakugan. Now, as for, in the canon story, Jugo, Sugetsu, and Karin were all, relatives to Naruto and Sasuke's age. At this time, 12 to 15, but by now, the 3 of them, they're the same age that they are in, Shippuden. Anyway, yeah, Naruto meets Kabuto and learns all of his capabilities, and Naruto has a clone with the exact same chakra flow which could fool anyone with a Byakugan back in the Leaf. Naruto sees how everyone fights, and even the Sound Trio. Those being Kin, Dosu, and Zaku. He does make a note on how Karin was a Uzumaki and that she can use her chains, but besides that she's practically useless on the battlefield. Only good for healing and stuff. He then gets told about Gaara, Temari, Kankuro, and even Baki. Orochimaru even mentions how he killed the 4th Kazekage Wasa without their knowledge. Orochimaru solidifies his trust in Naruto by mentioning what he plans to do with Sasuke. He also does this to see how Naruto reacts. Naruto doesn't care and tells him that he's not fighting him seriously. That if he's not fighting him seriously, that there isn't anything to worry about. Naruto then gets sent back to Naruto then gets sent back to the Leaf in time to meet the Sand Trio in person. He notices that one of them has a puppet on their back and realizes that that's Kankuro. And by process of elimination, the goal is Somali, and the guy in the trees who thinks he's good at hiding must be Gaara. He goes up to Kankuro and tells him to let Konohamaru down. The team was informed of the new addition like 5 minutes ago, and Naruto fit the description pretty well. Black robe over a blue shirt with a black shoes. Yellow hair with a black top hat over it, and his headband tied onto the hat. Knowing this, he's about to let go, but Naruto whispers with Sakura infused in his voice so only the trio can hear him. Don't let go. Make it seem like you're someone who doesn't want to be messed with. And with that, Kankuro tightens his grip and says, "And why should I listen to you, huh?" Because that's the Hokage's grandson, so if you don't want a war, let him down. Naruto responds. Gaara then does the same thing as Canon, and all that goes the same until Team 7 leaves. Naruto made a clone to follow behind the trio. He then informs them about all the people that they need to be worried about. Naruto did his research for the exams, but he did even more to prepare for the invasion. He says that Wakali, Nezuhyuga, and Shikamaru Nawa are the ones to worry about, but he tells them that he knows how to deal with them. And then the clone disperses, and from here on, everything goes as canon until the win exams. He passes it without trying, and now it's time for the force of death. Well, thank you guys for watching the Nah. We are still going. I'm stopping at the final rounds of the exams and when the invasion starts. Now, let's continue. Naruto passes the winning test, and they all go to the force of death. Uncle explains all the rules without interruptions, and the team gets the off score. They start the test, and they go inside the forest. Sakura asks, "Hey, Naruto, can we fly on your thing to scout the air? For anyone that has the score we..." Before she could finish, Naruto gets behind her and puts a kunai to her throat, head, back, and chest. He's not hurting them, he just put this kunai in those exact places, but not deep enough to cause any damage, like a boss. He then says, "I can't blame you for not knowing his name, since I never shared that information with any of you. But if you ever call Storm the thing again, instead of a puppet, I'll deepen the kunais in your body." He then takes out the kunais in her. Hang on, let me try that again. That wasn't threatening enough. "But if you ever call Storm a thing instead of a puppet again, I'll deepen the kunais in your body." There we go. That sounds threatening. Anyway, he then takes out all the kunais in her and answers her question. And no, I won't do that. Not because I can't, but because I don't want to. Sakura is still in shock and fear, while Sasuke is surprised at his speed. Someone was about to die, and he's like, "Oh, that guy was pretty fast." Not even that Lee kid was that fast. They start walking, and they get ambushed by a giant snake and a weird-looking woman. Long fight short, it goes as canon, with Naruto pretending to be knocked out by the snake. Sasuke gets the curse mark, and then Orochimaru goes to Naruto and gives him the curse mark as well. Once the curse mark had formed, Naruto heard Orochimaru's voice in his head saying, "This is what I developed after I met Jugo and mastered Sage Mode." Sasuke has it too, but it's a much weaker version than the one I gave you. It's the strongest out of all the other curse marks, but compared to yours, the one I gave him was it's like an ant. Naruto thanks him subconsciously and wakes up to see Sakura getting beat up. Lee on the ground, and the Inosuke tail combo hiding, as well as Neji and Tenten in the trees. But Sasuke then wakes up and breaks Zaku's arm and scares Kin and Dosu. Naruto wakes up naturally after that, and they get the moon scroll from someone Naruto killed. They don't know where they got the moon scroll from, and Naruto won't disclose how he got it. And now the preliminary rounds begin. First is Sasuke vs Yoi, which goes as canon, causing Sasuke to go with Kakashi to fully steal the quest mark. Naruto says that he knows what to do and that he's just leave it to him. Kakashi complies with that because he's seen his skills and he probably has a puppet for every situation. Also, he heard what Naruto did to Sakura and he doesn't want that to happen to him. And he didn't do anything about it because, well, he doesn't want that to happen to him. If you think like, what, Kakashi, he could body this Naruto. Well, if you remember from, the first part, I believe it was, the bell test, Naruto could have killed Kakashi if he actually tried fighting him instead of getting the bell test. Instead of trying to get the bells. Storm was absorbing Kakashi's chakra and giving that chakra to Naruto, weakening Kakashi and strengthening Naruto. So, yeah. Kakashi wouldn't body this Naruto. Naruto would body this Kakashi and practically everyone in the village except maybe Hiruzen. Yeah. Next is Zaku vs Sino. Sino wins. Musume vs Kankuro. Kankuro wins. Useless 1 vs Useless 2, and it ends in a draw of uselessness. And everything goes to canon until Naruto vs Kiba. Naruto wastes no time to end this fight since he doesn't want to fight someone as weak as Kiba anyway. Excuse me. Naruto gets out 2 of his nameless puppets and has them speed blitz Kiba and Akamaru. He takes them inside and has them squeeze until one of them concedes. Kiba says he'll never give up, while Naruto just tightens the grip and Kiba says uncle over and over, and Naruto only lets go when the proctor says he wins. Kiba's like, I'll never give up. Naruto's like, oh yeah? Starts squeezing tighter. Uncle! Yeah, like that. Don't know why it's that. He releases them and goes back up to where he was. And everything goes as canon except for 2 pretty major things. Naruto doesn't say he's going to beat up Neji as he did in canon, and he doesn't let Gaara use sand coffin on Lee's left leg and arm. He wants to make sure Lee stays safe for reasons you'll see later. And with that, the preliminary rounds have ended. Naruto then goes out to find Jiraiya and Tsunade so he can learn and get a good handle on the Sage mode before the invasion. But first, he goes to Orochimaru to learn Snake Sage mode first. Hang on. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. How to fix something in the script. Orochimaru says that he'll teach him after he masters his quest mark. So they do the sealing jutsu Kakashi to the Sasuke, and after that, Naruto takes the mind awakening pose and gets put in the bin Sasuke was in. He gets out of it with the ability to get to stage 2, all in the span of 2 hours. Orochimaru has him spar with the Sound 5, and he wins with slight difficulty. He beats Sayuya, Sakanukan, Zuobo, and Kiromaru with lots of ease, with only stage 1 active. But when it comes to Kimimaru, he has to get into the second stage. He still beats him in 5 minutes after activating it, but it was kind of hard for him. My bad. Naruto then wants Kabuto, Dugo, and Sugetsu to spar with him soon. He beats them with high mid difficulty and low high difficulty, and this was without his puppets. Yeah. So the Sound 5 could beat everyone in the Leaf Village except maybe the Jonin. And Jugo, Sugetsu, and Kabuto. I feel like if they work together, they could handle Kakashi. And Kakashi's the strongest Jonin, so if they could handle Kakashi together, they can handle everyone else. The only one left standing would be Hiruzen. Plus they have Orochimaru on the side, so yeah. Anyway, Naruto's shown his worth and he now asks Orochimaru if he can learn Snake Sage Mode now. Orochimaru tells him about Ryuchi Cave. He sends a clone to learn it instead of going himself. Orochimaru asks why, and Naruto tells him how he wants to learn all the Sage Mode from the Sannin. Orochimaru doesn't have a problem with this, but he warns Naruto about how hard it is to find Tsunade. Naruto says that he's got it covered. Naruto then goes to a hot spring to look for Jiraiya. Excuse me for a second. Okay, sorry about that. Naruto then goes to a hot spring to look for Jiraiya. He finds him and tells him in a loud enough voice that the people inside the springs could hear, "Hey, old man, stop staring at the woman in there. How do you sleep at night?" The women start running away, and Jiraiya says how his research got ruined. Naruto asks if this is how all Sannin acted. He made sure not to mention that he's met Orochimaru before. Jiraiya, surprised yet honored that someone Naruto's age knows of him. Excuse me. He doesn't recognize Naruto thanks to what he's wearing and his overall attitude. He'd expect Naruto's attitude to kind of be like the one in canon. Naruto says that since no book said he was a pervert, this is a lie, most of them did, that probably he'd even know Sage Mode. Jiraiya gets offended and says, "I do too know Sage Mode, you brat!" "Well, if you know it, prove that you've mastered it," Naruto responds with. Jiraiya mentions that how he knows Sage Mode, but he hasn't perfected it. Naruto acts shocked that a legendary Sannin hasn't perfected the Sage Mode. Jiraiya says it's not that easy, while Naruto says he could probably learn and get close to perfecting it by the end of the month. Jiraiya takes that wager and says that if he doesn't learn it, that he will have to tell him all the places he can find good-looking women since he hasn't been in the leaf in a while. And if Naruto wins, Jiraiya will dub Naruto the new Toad Sannin and make that publicly known. Excuse me. Sorry about that. That is me cousins. Anyway, he thinks it's going to be way too hard for that kid to get past the first 15 minutes, let alone actually learn it. So he bet his title on it, and Jiraiya reverse summons him to Mount Miyaboku, and Naruto leaves the clone there and tells Jiraiya that he'll have his clone learn it since he has better things to do. This infuriates Jiraiya even more. And now Naruto has to locate Tsunade. At 18 minutes, longest Puppet Master video I've made. Anyway, he quickly realizes that Orochimaru was right, since it was virtually impossible to find the last location Tsunade's been to within the past 5 years. But by using one of his beta ninja tools, the one he used in the Land of Waves, to detect and lock on to exactly where the bridge was, he did that exact same thing, but with Tsunade. She was where Naruto and Jiraiya found her in canon, and he travels out to meet her in person. It takes him about 2 hours or so to get to that place, and once he reaches her, he notices that Tsunade is quite drunk, which helps his plan even more. He walks up to her and says, "Is this the supposed legendary Sannin, or wasted?" No wonder you're known as the weakest and the weirdest Sannin. Weakest because you can't even hold your alcohol, and the strangest because you're known as a slug princess, but you don't have any slug sage mode. And you instead, like from all the books I've read, sorry about that if you heard that, and instead, from like all the books I've read, and you instead, like from all the books I've read, said, rely on not only your grandfather's name, but also his own powers. But hopefully the next time I meet you, you'll have your own powers without relying on anyone else. That sentence was so hard to say, and if you couldn't understand what I was trying to say, all the books Naruto's read about the Sannin, about Sannin and Tsunade specifically, had mentioned how Tsunade relies on, how Tsunade mentions that she's the granddaughter of the first Hashirama quite a few times. Anyway, He starts to walk away and he can feel the murderous intent, not only from Tsunade, but Shizune as well. Tsunade grabs his robe and brings him back to the table she was at. And she proceeds to say, "Now, listen here, kid. I don't know who the hell you think you are, but I do know that you're going to take everything you said back and treat me like a goddess for the next month. I thought of the tuning exams and that this is your training month period. As punishment, you're going to miss out on that training, and if you don't listen to me, I'll make you feel the worst pain you could ever imagine. You got me?" Naruto then says, "Yeah, I agree. If you can get a scratch on my headband. If you do, I'll do everything you say and more. But if you don't, you'll have to teach me about Sage Mode. Agreeable, or is this a gamble that you won't be able to follow through on?" Tsunade, heated, says yes, and that if he can get a scratch on her, that he will win. But this would be one of the many gambles that Tsunade made that she probably shouldn't have. He agrees and they go outside. Before Shizune even says start, Naruto gets in front of her and punches her straight in the gut. Tsunade uses her substitute and attempts to karate tap his head. He then turns his head a 360 and this catches her off guard. He then turns his head a 360 and this catches her off guard, and this allows him to punch her straight into her gut, extremely deep. Excuse me. His arm had a bunch of metal and wooden things added onto it as if it was like a puppet, and it was inserted into her stomach, but he wasn't done. He grows 8 more arms and starts barraging her with punches, each punch harder than the last, and each punch is taking some of her Sakura. Tsunade gets flown across the street they were fighting at, and she landed back on the ground after being launched 500 feet into the air. Naruto has her fly back to where they were via the tracker he put on her in the first place. He gets over her and says, "Well, it seems I've done more to you than just a scratch. Still, you're going to teach me that about Sage Mode, and if you don't, I'll tell everyone, including your sensei, the Totokage, that a mere genin took out a legendary Sannin. You got me?" Tsunade reluctantly agrees, and she teaches him what to learn the Sage Mode. He leaves a clone, and then he leaves to do nothing but to meditate on the Sage Energy and Curse Mark. The clones are gathering Sage Energy across the Leaf Village, and even outside the Leaf Village, and the clones are learning different Sage Energy, while the original Naruto gets all that Sage Energy, and he has to learn how to handle and control it, so he doesn't turn into a snake, a frog, a toad, or let's say a wooden statue for Hashirama. He started to meditate on his Sage Energy and Curse Mark. He quickly realizes from meditating on the Sage Energy that the Curse Mark has Sage Energy in it and can be turned into some type of cursed Sage Energy, like I did with School of Sealing. And he starts meditating on that as well. And now he'll be spending this entire month learning how to manage all the energy within himself, and by the end of the month, he now has Canon Naruto's mastery of Sage Mode in the work for all the Sage Modes. And he can have all of the Sage Modes and his newly found Cursed Sage Mode active at once, that he calls his Savant Mode, and Savant is another word for Sage, so that's why I chose it. And if it's not, don't blame me, blame Google. Anyway, and now he gets ready to head out to his first battle in the tuning exams, or as he likes to call it, a test run for his new Savant Mode. And that's where the chapter ends. So I hope you guys watching this enjoyed that. I really prefer this over School of Sealing, and you can see why. Naruto's so much cooler in this one than School of Sealing. While yes, School of Sealing would not easily, would beat this Naruto. I just like this Naruto more. And if you couldn't tell from the description I gave earlier, by the time this Naruto is in Shippuden, he'll basically end up looking like Sabo from One Piece. And if you don't know what Sabo looks like, Google search it. Just type in Sabo, S-A-B-O, One Piece, and you should find a pretty accurate picture. And yeah, thank you for watching all the way through if you did, and I hope you enjoyed it. Savant mode, sorry, if you had that notification, sorry. Savant mode is pretty OP, as you'll see. And as a small spoiler, throughout the entire time for the tuning exams, Naruto's going to have Savant mode active. He's going to have Hashirama's face markings, and one eye looking like a toad, his left eye looking like a toad's eye, and his right eye looking like a snake's eye. And on his forehead, it's going to be and the curse mark will be spread throughout his entire body. So Savant mode is has Toad Sage mode. I don't know why I can't explain things clearly. I am really sorry. Let's try this one more time. Savant mode is when Naruto has Hashirama's face markings on his face, a toad's eye in his left eye, a snake's eye in his right eye, and the curse mark spread throughout his body, or his curse sage mode, or whatever you want to call it. He's going to have this throughout the entire tuning exams, throughout the entire final round of the tuning exams, up until the invasion starts, so he can get a good grip on having it active and fighting while it's active. Kind of like when Goku and Gohan went at the hyperbolic chamber, I think it was, and they were stuck in Super Saiyan. I know practically nothing about Dragon Ball, but that's the little information of Dragon Ball I know about. Anyway, yeah, that's it. I am done. Thank you for watching this all the way through. Thank you for the increase of viewers and the 3 subscribers. And if you like this, well, show me that you like it by pressing the like button. I do really appreciate it. And if you don't, just watching the video, I'm fine with that. I appreciate you watching the video, let alone liking it. And I've been rambling on for too long. Yeah, I'm gonna end it right here. Hope anyone watching this has a great day. Bye. Noob out.